Good morning, everyone. It's Cynthia with another daily tarot card of the day. This week's deck is the new Palladini, and there's information about that in the description box below. These messages are timeless, general for the collective energies of the day, so take what resonates and leave the rest behind. If you felt inspired to watch this video, there's likely a message here for you, but please tune into your own intuition, your own inner guidance, higher self, spirit guides, so that whatever cards come up, you might receive your own personal insights, messages. Cut cards. Dun, dun, dun. The Emperor. Beautiful. Divine masculine energy coming through. Nurturing and enjoying the process of life. I hear the Ankh-like symbol on his staff and the orb is reminding me again of like the process of life. There's also the vine that's growing up the orb, so it's like nurturing the processes that we go through, trusting the intuition, being able to see clearly, and intuitively to be able to discern what's the framework, what are the beliefs or the definitions that I'm funneling my perceptions through, so that as I do, the Emperor is a doer, right? Or a planner or a director, right? He's got that building energy, that fore energy of not just providing the framework through which something gets done and the process itself, but also the actual movement, as we see with the Aries ram, the motive force, the movement force that actually gets the work done, the motivation, the inspiration in that sense. So he's both the framework of the process and the process itself, in a way. And I'm feeling this energy of stepping into sort of a self-managed leadership role, even if you yourself have, say at work, you have a boss or you have somebody, a team of people, or someone above you to whom you would answer to, or if you're an advanced student and you have someone who's a mentor or something like that, who's to whom you're accountable, in terms of whatever it is that you're doing. There's still a level of self-mastery and self-management that's required, because again, it's your perceptions in your spirit, mind, body system. It's your perceptions that get filtered through those that framework of the beliefs and the definitions that you're ascribing to certain situations, the perceptions, and that's very useful and beneficial, because it helps us to see where things are at in the process. There's a certain amount of orderliness to that, but sometimes we have to kind of like be our own leader. We have to sort of self-soothe through challenging situations, especially if they're causing like mental, emotional confusion, or we're having reactions to challenging situations and things like that. It's perfectly natural to feel disappointed when something doesn't work and excited when it does, right? But this is about being able to direct yourself through, navigate through a process of doing something. So there's something very orderly, step by step, that's coming up here in this vibration. And Spirit's talking about like being that leader or stepping into the leadership role, even if it's just for you. It might be for a group of people or a situation that's within your sphere of influence that you're trying to take charge of. But I'm going to bring it back down to you, and then you apply that, in your life as you see fit. But what Spirit is saying is, it's a process. Everything is a process. So they're talking about this orderly step by step, and I keep hearing the word leader. So one thing at a time, letting yourself move through that process, nurturing yourself through that process. And I'm also hearing that even though our beliefs and our definitions create that perceptive framework, that we might behave a certain way, or we might look at a certain situation or challenge, and we've got these thought processes of how we figure things out, right? Or how we see things in terms of our attitude and stuff like that. Spirit seems to be highlighting something about not getting overly, I keep hearing the phrase nitpicky, or over critical or self-critical about that. Like I'm seeing, instead of slicing it all the way down to get down to that limiting belief or that definition and question whether or not you're wrong, Spirit's almost saying like that'll take too much of your precious time to try and figure that out in order to I guess solve a problem or overcome a challenge or an obstacle. So I'm feeling like this actually requires you to acknowledge and recognize when something shows up, but to not get drawn in one direction or the other. So the leadership quality of being able to, you spot it, it is what it is, don't judge it, nurture yourself, nurture the best in yourself or the situation in order to move forward promptly or swiftly. And it's not like there's an urgency, like you have to rush, but it's almost like don't question, don't overanalyze or question too much. Don't go the route of being critical of yourself or others. Maintain a certain amount of centeredness, but there's a certain kind of like radical self-acceptance, nurturing yourself through accepting certain things are the way they are. They don't have to be tackled in this exact moment, but I need to learn how to utilize A, B, C, D. So it's like if we come up with a challenge or an obstacle, or we're faced with something, we have to look at our attitude about, okay, so why am I thinking that this is a bad thing? It is what it is. Let's look at it from the situation of not judging it as good or bad, but just, taking that step back instead of then diving in and trying to overanalyze and stuff. So Spirit is pretty much saying, you don't have to dig too deep, just don't make a judgment call. You can acknowledge and recognize when you don't prefer something. You can acknowledge and recognize when you've made a mistake, but to learn from that mistake, to move beyond it or to move past it, to overcome a challenge or answer a question, we have to take that step back and see it for what it is at face value without projecting a judgment on it based on our opinions, preferences, knowledge, whatever, and say, okay, this is what it is right now. So the path forward is A, B, C, D, right? So they're talking about being able to discern, acknowledge, recognize, but then nurture your own strengths. Given that you are now faced with this situation, doesn't much matter where it came from or how it got there, but you're faced with it. So now what do you do? So there's this, and they're repeating to me something. Jim Quick is a learning neurophysiology sort of motivational speaker and mentor and teacher. And he loves acronyms, and he has one that's OLD, old. Make your mistakes old. Own it, learn from it, don't do it again. And you can see where in that process we can sometimes get ourselves stuck. This message seems to be saying, don't get stuck in that process. Own it, radical self-acceptance and nurturing. It's here. Now what do I do with it? Learn from it. It's here. What's it going to teach me? Bringing out your own strengths, bringing out your own capacity to handle situations. What can I learn through this? How am I going to find the solution that's right in front of me? And then it's a lot easier to, quote unquote, don't do it again, which translates to, once you get through this, you will see more clearly what definitions prevented you, what limiting beliefs prevented you, and you'll be able to change them. Acknowledge them in the moment, own it, learn the lesson, move forward. Not everything that goes wrong is necessarily from a mistake. It's from a challenge. What am I learning from this? I'm learning how to be forthright. I'm learning how to not overthink or be critical, right? So given that process, today has a lot of energy of take it step by step and nurture yourself. Wishing you lots of peace and blessings. I hope you have a wonderful day. And thank you for being here. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow.